What does your D&D character wear? I don't mean, oh, they wear a half plate, 15 plus dex, disadvantage on stealth. I mean, what do they wear? What colors, what fabrics, what kind of shoes? Are they stylish? Do they wear a hat? If you aren't sure how to answer that question, then today's video is for you. Hello friends, Ginny D here, and I am a cosplayer, so obviously I think about clothes a lot. When I come up with visuals for a D&D character, it's usually with the understanding that I'm probably going to dress up like that someday. But you don't have to plan on actually creating and wearing your character's outfit for it to be interesting and useful to know what their clothes look like. You might be asking yourself, why should I care about my character's clothes? And of course, you don't have to. Plenty of people play whole campaigns without ever knowing what color their character's shirt is. But spending a little time thinking about your character's outfit can add layers to your roleplay and help you visualize them. If your character is going to tear a strip off of their cloak to bind a friend's wound, you should probably know whether or not they wear a cloak. Knowing whether their clothes are spattered with dried blood or draped from expensive silks may change the way that NPCs or other players view them. Clothing can often be plot relevant, such as identifiable military or religious clothing, or as indicators of wealth or country of origin, or even when used as a disguise. Plus, if you have any interest in drawing or commissioning art of your character, it's important to have at least an idea of what they're wearing. For me, thinking about what a character wears is an important part of the character creation process, and it can often change as my characters level up and move through the world. By the way, if you want to win a $50 gift certificate to my shop, as well as a feature in World Building magazine, you will be super excited to hear about the new World Anvil costume challenge. World Anvil is a toolkit for writers, game masters, and anyone else who does world building. Tools like articles, interactive maps, family trees and timelines, and support for stat blocks and character sheets make it easy to keep track of your world, your characters, and your plots and histories. World Anvil usually sponsors my point of view roleplay videos, but this month they wanted to sponsor this one because their new competition is all about costumes and clothes. To enter, all you have to do is make a post on your World Anvil account, which is free by the way, all about a uniform or outfit that exists in your world, be that the world of your tabletop game or any other world you've created. Tell us all about what it symbolizes, who wears it, how it's evolved over time. I think clothing is an underexplored part of world building, and I am so excited to see how you guys incorporate it into your world. I will be judging the entries, so make sure to give me your best. I will link to the challenge page in the description for more information. And as always, if you fall in love with World Anvil and you want to access their full list of features, you can use the code Ginny to get 30% off any annual membership. So let's talk about how to design clothes. It's a big ask, especially if you've never really done illustration or sewing. It can be hard to even know where to start. Even though I have done both illustration and sewing, I still feel like I'm not very good at designing clothes, which is why I have historically turned to my friend KELSEY, known on the internet as Tough Tink.
I can't believe that we're both wearing cat ear headphones. We are just like, we're e-girls, Kelsey.
It's meant to be.
There's nothing to be done.
My ears are actually removable.
So are mine!
Oh, really?
We could just look like normal girls.
Oh no, why would I do that?
Why would we want that?
KELSEY is both an illustrator and a cosplayer, and she actually designs costumes for cosplayers on her Patreon every month. If you like Ashling's outfits, you have KELSEY to thank because I commissioned her to design them. She also designed my winter jester look from my Jester's music video.
Never have to face a fight alone, you see. I'm here to keep their eyes on me.
Which, by the way, is the whole reason I got into Critical Role.
I love that so much. I want to get everyone into Critical Role just like one at a time. Every person in the world.
It's working.
She's basically the perfect person to ask about this stuff. We had a great conversation about design, and after reviewing it, I feel like we can break it all out into 4 aspects to consider when designing clothes for your characters. First, story. Your character's background, current location, and objectives all play a part in what they wear. A character who comes from money will probably have more expensive clothes than a character who comes from a poor background. That means their clothing can be more colorful, it can feature more fabric, it can include jewelry or other decorative accessories, and it's probably in good condition, not torn or sun-bleached or worn. If your character does come from a poor background, you can ask yourself where they might have gotten their clothes. Do they wear hand-me-downs from an older sibling, slightly too big, maybe patched or darned? Did they steal it, so it has mismatched styles or clearly doesn't fit their body? Is it something they made made by themselves? What about location? What's the weather like where your character is from, or where they are now? Do they wear heavy furs to protect from the cold, or clothing in a certain color or style that's popular in a specific region? If they came from a monastery, what did monks wear? If they trained in the military, did they still wear the armor or insignia of that army? Even their personal plotline can impact what they wear.
I have a character that's a tiefling. She has some people that she's like hiding from, that she had like escaped from. So I wanted her to have like a big hooded cloak that she wears sometimes that can like hide her. But because of the way I did her horns kind of go like this. And so, similar to these little cat ears, when she puts up her hood, it almost looks like she's got like cat ears underneath it.
You can dig into personality for this too. What does your character look for in clothing? Do they want something sturdy, something warm, something subtle, something stylish? And are they in a position to get the kind of clothing they want? I find it helpful to just try and walk myself through where the character would have gotten these clothes and under what circumstances. This can lead to a way more interesting and unique outfit than whatever might come to mind when you just think, what does a ranger wear? Second, consider aesthetic, like colors and vibes. We associate meaning with color all the time. There's a reason why a red dress is considered sexy, or brides wear white to represent purity.
I have a color scheme, like, oh, I really like nature colors. I want something natural and airy. So now I'm working with like a pastel palette, and I start thinking of clothing pieces that will show that off in a way. Like if I want something that's more natural colors, or if I want like really bright jewel tones or something that feels like rich and luxurious, that starts to tell a story about the character with just those like simple first choices.
You might already associate certain colors with your character, but if you don't, I would encourage you to look up color symbolism and just see if any particular colors seem to match up with your character's personality or energy. When I designed Edith's outfit for my matchmaker video, I knew I wanted to use white because she was a cleric and white just feels like a religious color to me. I also knew I wanted to use red, partially because her deity, Suni, is described as having red hair and red lips, but also because red usually represents passion and romance, both of which are important to Edith as a matchmaker and personally as someone looking for love. Someone extravagant like a bard might be willing to wear a bunch of different bright colors at once, whereas a rogue who needs to sneak through the shadows is probably never going to wear much yellow. Or maybe they would, and that would also tell you something about that character. Like that they value fashion more than being an effective spy, or that they're not very good at their job, or that they're so confident in their skills that they don't even think a bright yellow shirt is gonna hurt their stealth. Color isn't the only thing that affects an outfit's vibes either. If your character is very lawful, very inflexible, they might wear clothes that are quite structured, something that's buttoned all the way up to the neck, something neatly fitted, something with straight lines. On the other hand, a carefree and adaptable character might be more likely to wear flowy fabrics, loose-fitting garments that have a lot of movement. Third, think about utility. I know I mentioned earlier that your character's outfit doesn't have to begin and end with the type of armor they wear, or anything else that's actually mechanically relevant to the game. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take the utility of a costume into account when designing. Your D&D character probably travels, they probably fight. What does that mean for their clothes?
Well, I know my character's gonna have to carry a bunch of crap, so where are they putting it? You don't necessarily need to have a bag big enough to actually hold everything, but if you start thinking like, okay, well, I want them to have a belt that's got like a bunch of trinkets on it, you know, oh, they're like an alchemist, so they have all sorts of different like potions and components that they carry on them, so maybe that's like something they could use, you know.
Of course, you don't have to be married to utility. Most D&D characters are carrying around a lot of stuff, and just because your character starts off with 3 weapons and a musical instrument and a dungeoneering pack and a hunting trophy and whatever else, doesn't mean that all those things have to be visible on their person or even believably carried. It is, after all, a game, so you don't have to get too intense about it.
I mean, it differs from person to person how much you want the utility to matter. And obviously in a world with magic, it maybe matters less.
But thinking, yes, they have a sword, so they should probably have a scabbard, or they have wings, so their clothes should probably be open at the shoulder blades. Those kind of thoughts can help guide your designs.
You know, maybe they have a cloak, like what does it look like when you style it with the cloak versus without? Like maybe they have a hood that's designed very specifically to cover their identity, you know.
This is something Kelsey and I incorporated into Ashling's designs. She wears leather armor, so we settled on a leather corset corset with leather leaf-shaped pauldrons to invoke the feeling of armor while still allowing us to design something that suited my aesthetic vision. I also think a key part of utility is variety. Most people don't wear the exact same thing every day, and while an adventurer who's on the move might not have an extensive wardrobe with them, they would probably have at least a change of clothes. Ask yourself, what do they wear when it gets cold, when it rains, when they stop to make camp, when they're meeting someone in a position of power? I like to think not just about a single outfit, but about their whole closet. And finally, I'm putting this one last because I think there are people who unfairly ignore it, but there are also people who place too much weight on it, and that is history.
I love historical clothing. How things close, for example, like is it a lace up? Like it's obviously like this, for example. Lacing is really common. Having things that tie, things that buckle. There's a lot to learn there, and there's a lot that you wouldn't necessarily think about if you don't learn about how they did it.
Learning about how clothing and armor was made throughout history can really open your eyes to different styles and forms that your character's outfits can use or reference, especially if, as Kelsey mentions, you go beyond the narrow slice of European history that most fantasy media pulls from.
We kind of see like the same two eras applied to fantasy in a way, and it's really fun to just kind of like branch out from there, and like you can find a lot of really fun shapes and silhouettes to use when you look at historical fashion around the world from different cultures.
Ultimately, Dungeons & Dragons, while often inspired by and referential to history, is not history. It's fantasy, so you don't have to use historically accurate clothing for your characters. That said, history is full of ideas. Taking some of those ideas and incorporating them with your other sources of inspiration can lead to some really unique looks that sometimes feel even more fantastical than a truly historically accurate costume might.
Looking at current runway trends and stuff, and finding places where maybe you can marry the historical with the modern, I think is really fun and like the perfect place to kind of find fantasy in between.
Once you've looked at these 4 factors, story, aesthetic, utility, and history, you should have at least a basic concept of your character's clothing in your mind. But having something in your head is very different from representing it in a way that others can take in, like your fellow party members or an artist that you want to commission. There are lots of different ways to bring your clothing designs to life. As anyone reading about Scarlett O'Hara's dresses in Gone with the Wind or one of Cinna's designs in the Hunger Games books can attest, you don't need an actual image to communicate a visual. A written description of an outfit can create an image in the reader's mind, so don't feel pressured to use a visual medium if you don't want to. I often start with a written description of an outfit before I start to translate it into sketches or even actual clothes. But if you do want to use visuals, there are a few different angles you can take. I would encourage you to try drawing it, even if you don't think that you're a good artist. Especially if you're just doing this for personal use, you can try tracing other pictures for a base, or even using fashion design templates, so you don't have to learn the ins and outs of anatomy in order to get started. You can also put together a mood board or a collage from images of similar outfits or individual garments that call your design to mind. I love Pinterest for this. I make a Pinterest board for almost every character I design. That way you can grab a photo of a modern pair of pants, a painting of a historical figure wearing a certain type of doublet, and someone's sketch of a cool headpiece, and put them all beside each other to create a mental image of the combination. Online doll makers can also be a great resource if you can find one that suits your aesthetic vision. But beware, you can lose hours into browsing those things trying to find one that has all of the options that you need. I speak from experience. All of these things, written descriptions, sketches, mood boards, doll makers, they can be super helpful if you want to commission an artist to draw your character. Any reference you can provide will help them create something that matches what you're envisioning in your head.
It can be really, really good to know the difference between if you want an illustration versus if you want a design, because an illustration implies you already know what your character looks like, and you maybe want like a really pretty portrait of them or something. Whereas if you want design work, that can sometimes be a more involved process.
Kelsey is not taking commissions right now, but if you want the opportunity to commission her in the future, or you just want to enjoy her beautiful art and beautiful cosplays, make sure to follow her at Tough Tink. I'll put all of her links into the description.
I couldn't get Tough Tink on Twitter, which sucks.
That's okay, I can't get Ginny D on Twitter either. It's some old lady. She's never tweeted. She's only followed by her pastor.
Remember, you have until June 5th to enter the World Anvil Costume Challenge, where you can win a $50 gift card to my shop, as well as a feature in World Building magazine. I'll put a link in the description with more information about how to enter. Good luck with your designing. May your characters be very fashionable, or very unfashionable, if that's the kind of character they are.